the sky had turned a strange orange that evening. Dust hung heavy in the air, making every breath feel like swallowing sand. And in that eerie light, Eleanor Fletcher, a young widow living alone on the edge of the Texas frontier, spotted him, dragging his bloodied body through the mesquite, barely clinging to life. She had no idea what had happened, but instinct screamed louder than caution. "Don't move," she shouted, shotgun trembling in her hands. But the man, dark hair tangled with blood, chest heaving with pain, collapsed face-first into the dirt. He was barely more than a boy. She rushed to him, her boots crunching across dry earth. The wounds were fresh gunshot in the thigh, bruised ribs, dried blood on his side. And his wrists bore rope burns. He was a prisoner. And he was Comanche. Eleanor had every reason to leave him. Her neighbors wouldn't have hesitated. In fact, a posse had ridden by earlier that day, claiming a Comanche youth had killed 2 settlers near Blanco Creek. They were hunting him like an animal. If they found him here, if they found her harboring him, it would mean death for both. But Eleanor's heart didn't listen to fear. She dragged him inside, laid him on her father's old cot, and began to work. Her hands moved from memory, boiling water, cleaning wounds, sewing flesh, things she'd learned tending to her late husband when he took a bullet during the Apache raids. The boy didn't speak. Not that night. But his eyes opened once, and when they locked with hers, she saw neither hatred nor wild fury, just unbearable pain. And gratitude. By dawn, the posse had doubled back. Dust clouds rose behind their horses like thunder rolling through the hills. Mrs. Fletcher, called Sheriff Greeley, a square-jawed man with hollow eyes. "We're checking all properties. That savage might be hiding nearby." She stepped outside, the screen door creaking behind her. "You're welcome to look," she said with a calm she didn't feel. Inside, beneath the floorboards where her father once stored his whiskey, the young warrior lay hidden. Eleanor prayed he didn't breathe too loud. After 20 minutes of overturned baskets and a few suspicious glances, the sheriff rode off. That night, the boy finally spoke. His voice was low and rough like stones scraping together. "Why?" he asked. She didn't answer immediately. "I lost someone too," she said finally. "Hate didn't bring him back. His name was Tokahe, which meant river between cliffs. He was barely 17. His brother had been killed by settlers. He swore he hadn't hurt anyone, but they'd strung him up anyway, beaten him like a dog, and dragged him behind a horse until he slipped the rope and fled into the brush. For days, Eleanor nursed him, fed him, protected him. And for every day she showed him kindness, a piece of the wall between them crumbled. Then came the morning when she opened the door and froze. 12 Comanche warriors stood in a wide circle around her home. Their faces were painted, their horses pawing the dirt. At the center, an elder sat tall and still, Matsu, Tokahe's grandfather, and the war chief of his band. Eleanor's breath caught in her chest. Tokahe stepped outside behind her, limping but alive. His eyes scanned the warriors, then locked onto Matsu. He spoke in his language, fast and intense. There was silence. Then the old chief dismounted. Eleanor braced for the end. But Matsu only looked at her, long and searching. He placed his hand on Tokahe's shoulder and said something that made the young warrior nod. Then he turned to Eleanor. "You risked your life, for blood not yours," he said in broken English. She didn't respond, heart thudding in her ears. "You are brave," he said. "You have honor." Then he raised his hand, signaling the warriors. One by one, they turned and vanished into the trees like shadows. All except one, Tokahe. He stayed. The town was not forgiving. Eleanor's kindness became gossip, then suspicion, then outrage. People stopped trading with her. One night, someone threw a rock through her window with a note, "Savage lover." But she didn't bend. Tokahe helped around the ranch. Built fences. Fixed the well. He said little, but he listened well. And in his quiet, Eleanor found a calm she hadn't felt in years. Months passed. Then one night, she heard a soft knock on her door. Sheriff Greeley stood there, hat in hand. "I was wrong," he muttered. That boy, he didn't do what they said. We found the real killer. Tokahei can stay. Eleanor said nothing. Just nodded once and closed the door. Inside, Tokahei sat by the fire. She met his eyes. For the first time, he smiled. Years later, folks spoke differently. They saw a woman who'd stood up for what was right even when it nearly cost her everything. They saw a warrior who had traded vengeance for peace, anger for loyalty. Children on the frontier grew up hearing the story of the widow and the Comanche she saved, not as a warning, but as a lesson. That no matter the blood between them, kindness had the power to stop a war. And in a world so torn by hate, one act of courage had been enough to heal two broken hearts.